Parenthood is challenging enough as it is, and getting organized sounds easier said than done. Now, combine these two together, and it's truly a balancing act that many of us struggle with day in, day out. If you're here, it's because you want to know how to get your life and home more organized and structured where the kids are involved too, so that parent life is a little easier and you can focus on what truly matters. Hey there, I'm 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙢, owner and founder of One Tidy Place. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 kids of my own. Each week, we'll talk about all things organizing, teaching kids life skills, and contributing to the home, being on the same page with your partner, and raising your kids together while you tidy up, go out for a walk, or just need some real talk. I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Parenting Guide Organizing Habits Made Easy podcast. I'm so happy you're here because I'm doing something completely different from what I usually bring to you. And that is, I'm going to be very candid and very off the cuff in this episode and probably in the next few episodes. So you're going to hear a lot of mistakes and repeated words as if we're having a conversation together. I'm still testing things out on the way I deliver my podcasts. I don't know if you've listened to my episode, the last episode I had with my husband, episode number 32. Basically, it was a chat with him on home organizing and parenting, raising kids together, and couplehood. So if you haven't tuned into that, head to 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙤.com/32. That episode kind of inspired me in a way of how I'll be presenting my podcast. It's going to be more of raw, less polished and edited. And the whole reason for this is I want this to be kind of like a conversation with you and I right now, right here. And I hope that you like this format because, one, for me, it's a lot easier to do less editing because I'm a one-woman show. I do all the post-production stuff. And 2, it helps me to get the content out faster to you. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been launching my episodes every 2 weeks and now sometimes even more a little bit. And I'm not really comfortable with that. I really want to make this work. And as a business owner and a podcaster, I'd like to have content out to you almost on a weekly basis. So if I have to cut somewhere, why not cut the editing and make this podcast and videos a lot more raw and real and, I don't know, quote unquote, in your face, I guess. I don't know. But I hope you like this format. Let me know if you do or if you don't. That's okay. I'm going to do the best that I can anyhow. So are you ready? Let's do this. If you're looking to finally tackle those back burner projects like the overstuffed closets, unorganized kitchens, or neglected garages and storage spaces, now thinking of hiring a professional organizer has got you overwhelmed. What questions do you ask aside from how much and when can you start? What are other things to consider before your first consultation? Using my cheat sheet will help guide you through with getting your thoughts organized and asking those commonly missed questions. There are tons of pro organizers out there, and my cheat sheet will help you narrow down the right one for your project based on your specific needs, family situation, capabilities, and availability. So head to 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙢.com/PO cheat sheet, all in one word. That's 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙢.com/PO cheat sheet today. So the question I'll be answering today is, why is it so hard to get my kid to do chores? Now, this podcast episode was inspired by a question that was asked at a local radio station here in Montreal. It's called the Beat 92.5. I decided to call in and answer it because, 1, I'm a mom, and 2, because I'm a professional organizer. And I believe wholeheartedly in chores, in kids helping out and doing chores at home. If you've listened to my podcast episodes before, I do mention it, 9 ways to get kids to help out with chores. So if you want to pause this episode and take a listen to that one, just head to 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙢.com/31. All right. So let's ask the question, why is it so hard to get my kid to do chores? Well, first off, and I'm going to split this into 3 sections. So number 1, first off, do they understand why this needs to get done? And the reason is this. A lot of times, us as adults, we get motivated because there's the why behind it. We're more inclined to do things when we know the reason. If there's no reason at all, our hearts and our minds are not really there to doing it. And then we might do it once or twice. And then the next times after that, if we're asked to do it, it's like, well, I don't really feel like doing it. So if we have that in mind, can you imagine what it is for the kids, what's going on in their minds? So they're still developing. And those, I guess, I don't know the science behind it, is a reason. There might be a reason why, with your brain or something, that we don't get motivated to do things unless there's a concrete reason why. Now, for us as adults, obviously, the house needs to be maintained. We don't want to be breathing all this dust. We don't want to be walking on Legos and hurting our feet, or, inviting all types of rodents or bugs into the house, even though bugs do crawl in our house all the time. But, just the thought of crumbs and messes and food all over the place, it's not healthy and it's not good, obviously. So, if you had to explain it to your child in that way, it's possible that they can wrap their head around it. And I know growing up, when my parents would say, just do it, or you have to, I didn't like that, answer from them. And obviously, when I was younger, I didn't know. I just listened and obeyed because, I'm a kid and I was afraid of my parents. But thinking about it over the last few years now raising kids, I found that answer, or that just do it because I said so, isn't good enough. And it's not something that I want to tell my children. Now, I don't know my parents' thought process on their parenting. They had their time and they got me. This is what came out of it. So I guess it was a good thing too, of their methods. But, as a parent, I get to choose the way that I want to raise my kids, myself and my husband, obviously, because this is a partnership. Now, do they understand? Do my kids understand why they need to do chores? Yes, they do. On top of it needs to get done, but, the dishwasher needs to be emptied because we need dishes so that we can eat. Or what I always say too is that I can't work when the sink is full. So I don't know, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in some previous podcasts, but those are one of my core values, that the sink needs to be emptied every single day. And this is something my kids understand, whether it was just seeing the sink empty when they come home, or also me saying it a few times on repeat, right? So when I'm introducing a chore, or just reminding them, hey, the dishwasher needs to be emptied because the sink needs to be emptied, and I can't work and make supper or lunches if the whole place is a mess, if there's no room to put any of the dirty dishes because there's a lot of dirty dishes in the sink. So the bottleneck is the dishwasher. So this was why it needs to get done in the morning so the rest of the day can flow smoothly. And it might be just that, for the rest of the day to roll smoothly so that I can make the supper, so that we can have lunch and, there's less stuff to do afterwards. So that's that. Do they understand? Can they wrap their head around the reason of your why? And it could be simple too, as we have people coming over. Do you want them to see all that hair on the stairs as they walk in? Do they want to see stains in the toilet? Would you want to see stains in the toilet when you go to a friend's house or when you go to a restaurant? It's kind of nasty, isn't it? Right? So I talk really on a let's get real kind of thing with my kids. It might not be as polished sounding as I probably do sound on my podcast or on video, right? Because I want to get a clear message to you across. But with my kids, there's no editing. I mean, I try to edit myself as much as possible in regards to trying to get the message across and not yell, but sometimes it happens. And sometimes you do because they're just not listening to you, and it's frustrating. But that's a whole other topic for another day. So back to wrapping their heads around the reason why. Just give them a reason other than it has to be done and because I said so. So that's that. And the second point is, why is it hard to get my kid to do chores? My second reasoning or thought process on this is maybe the chore is just too complex. There's a lot of steps involved, and telling them to do it is just too much. Like literally, they need a step-by-step. And if you're a person who needs a step-by-step process, or who needs to be introduced something slowly before understanding and then mastering it, then there's a high chance that your kid is probably the same as you because you learn the same way. So if there's something that's complex, I'm going to take laundry because laundry's never ending and it's always there. And yes, I repeat myself all the time that laundry is a beast. So there's a lot of steps to laundry, right? There's the emptying the hampers, sorting it out if that's what you do before you wash the laundry. Or maybe you wash one hamper at a time, meaning one kid gets their clothes washed one day and then it's the next hamper for another person and the next hamper for another person. Whatever it is, you're washing a load. And then after that, it goes into the dryer. Well, you put the soap first and whatever it is that you guys put in your washing machine. And then after that, you need to press all the buttons and then wait for an hour and then dry it. However you dry it, whether it's hang drying, sticking it all in the dryer or half and half or whatever it is. And then emptying it all out after another hour and then sorting it out and folding it, or folding it and then sorting. So you see what I mean? There's a lot of steps. So imagine if you're asking your teen to do this or your preteen to do the laundry. That's a lot of steps. It's a lot to think about, and it's overwhelming for a kid to understand all of this, or even a young adult who's never done this before. So break it down into steps. And for the young kids, it's sometimes easier too to just involve them and incorporate them in the easy things, like sorting out socks or dropping the soap pod inside the washing machine, helping you to empty the dryer. Little things like this is basically teaching them bits and pieces of laundry where eventually you'll be able to add on to that once they get the hang of it, once they get used to it, once they understand the whole reasoning and concept about laundry, or whatever it is that you want to teach them. So for instance, this last summer, my husband and I were discussing about our oldest kid to start mowing the lawn. He was talking about earning some money and wanting to start a little business for himself. And so we said, you know what? That's cool. No problem. But first, let's start at home. Okay. And we're going to teach you how to do it. Well, my husband did because I was doing something else in the house. And it was nice to see them and seeing my husband teaching our oldest one the step-by-step of mowing the lawn. Now, he didn't get to push the lawnmower the first day that he got introduced to the lawn mowing. No, I think it came after several times because my husband and I were big on teaching the kids step by step and process. If you've ever listened to our last episode together, my husband is a mechanical engineer and he designs, let me get this right. He designs aerospace component parts. Oh my gosh, he's shaking his head right now listening to me because I have words exactly of what it is and I can't even say it out loud in one smooth sentence. He designs aerospace component parts that are very specific and precise. He's just shaking his head big time. Anyhow, long story short is what I want to say. He's an engineer. He's a systems kind of guy. He's the right angle and of our relationship. And I'm the colorful squiggly lines. So we complement each other very, very well in that. And I understand his language. I'm a science girl. I get it. So systems is what works with kids. And so he introduced the lawn mowing chore task to our son systematically, introduce the parts, pointing out what this is, where the gas tank is, how the lawnmower starts, what it looks like underneath, how to start it, how to turn it off. So he did all the theory of that. And then I think a little bit after, he got him to push the lawnmower a bit, but not to do the whole thing, just get the feeling, his body get used to pushing this heavy piece of equipment. So think about it. He was 11 at the time, and he's never pushed anything heavier than his body weight, I think, doing a push-up or something. So this lawn mowing plus the grass, the long grass, and something new to him, it can get heavy. It was pretty heavy. So that was kind of like phase one. And then by the time he got reintroduced it again, my husband made him do a couple of lawn mowing lines. And then eventually, gradually, he got to him covering the backyard. And then after that, the front yard. So in the end, by the end of the summer, he was able to do our lawn every 4 or 5 days, whatever the criteria was that my husband requested or asked for. And he also got a job mowing the lawn at the front neighbor's house. So how cool is that? It's what my kid wanted. He wanted a job. He wanted a side gig. And we introduced it to him at the beginning of the summer, or midsummer actually. And by the end of the fall, right before the closing and before we winterized everything, he had a job, earning a little bit of cash from the front door neighbor and gaining experience at the same time. So that's what teaching and breaking down something that's so complex is all about. Introducing it, getting the kids familiar with the different pieces of equipment or the different parts of the system, asking questions and letting them try it and doing things. And little by little, that also too will get them to understand the why from my point number one, and get them motivated to keep going and be curious about the next steps, right? And as we teach our kids, we also tell them, it's important that you help out at the home. This is really good what we're doing, and this is really good what you're doing because you're helping us out. If we have help with this, then mom and dad can do other things, and then we finish this job, and then we can spend more time together. We can play video games together. We can have another movie night, maybe a second movie, and it's happened more than once that we've done that. So I encourage you to break down the complex tasks and chores, especially if the kids are hesitant or they just don't want to do it. Really dig in as to why it is that they just don't want to do the chore or they're not motivated to do it. And my final thing about why it's hard for kids to do chores is there a schedule? And number two, are you on that schedule? Now, I had to think about this for a bit because for a long time, and this is because, I'm surrounded by wonderful women, my family, my friends, and everybody has their own schedule, has their own ways of running their home. And my mother-in-law, she's amazing. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but she is an organized woman. She's so on the ball, and it's so wonderful and crazy also at the same time to watch her because her house is just pristine. Now, I don't know how it was when she was raising kids, but I'm sure it wasn't far from how it is right now. And I'm not saying that it was easy for her. I'm not saying that she had all the help. I don't think so. I wasn't there, obviously, but she run a tight ship, and she got her 3 boys helping her out too. So that is something that I totally admire about her. She said it a few times. She told the boys, her sons, which one of them is my husband, when they were younger, that, she can't do it herself. They need to help out. And the results of that is what my husband does at home and how he helps out so much. And I can go on and on about talking about how wonderful he is in around the house, but I don't want to bore you guys too much. Roll your eyes or something. I don't know. But he's a wonderful partner, and he's just really great. Like I said, we fit together like a puzzle piece. Anyhow, so back to doing the schedule. If we have a schedule and if we're even following that schedule, well, I can tell you, I tried creating a schedule for myself years ago, following the footsteps really of what my mother-in-law was doing. And those are big shoes to fill. And she had a certain way of doing things, and she had her cleaning days, and she had her, errand days and everything. And I guess it was at a time when I had the baby still and toddlers and dealing with 3 small kids and being home and all of this and trying to live in her shoes or try to, I guess, imitate it. It's hard. It's mentally draining. And I think it was a lot for me to try to take on and, beat myself up for it sometimes mentally because I wasn't doing like how she was doing. But right now, in hindsight and stepping back from all of this, I think it's to really just look at ourselves and see what makes sense for us in the lifestyle that we run right now in our lives with our kids, in all the schedules and all the work that we're doing in and around the house and outside our home, our work. So what makes sense to us? What makes sense for everyone? It could be bits and pieces, like just doing 10-minute jobs here and there. It could be a whole day that is dedicated to cleaning and organizing the home. Whatever it is, it's a schedule that you follow. And if that's a schedule you follow, could you be looking at your kids right now and expecting something different? Expecting them to be doing a chore every single day if you yourself dedicate a full day of chores, or just bits and pieces here, spurts here and there of doing chores. And then you're requiring them or you're asking them to do something every single day for half an hour or 15 minutes or whatever it is, but something more consistent, whereas you are completely not. So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like as you do things, they will follow. So if you're asking for something to be done more consistently, are we looking at ourselves to see if we're actually doing that ourselves? So that was a big eye-opener for me in the last few years. And actually, when I was thinking about launching this episode, I thought about it hard, about what is it that I do at home? Am I being consistent? Do I have a schedule? Do I have a full dedicated cleaning day? I don't. So why am I expecting my kids to have a chore every single day? Because I don't. I do what I can when I can, and I ask for them to help out when it's needed, and it works. It works for us. So just to conclude everything, why is it so hard to get our kids to do chores? Break it down into 3 steps. Do they understand what the whole point of this chore is, or the chore itself? Do they understand why they have to do it? Is it too complex? Are there too many steps and they don't understand, or they don't know how to do these steps properly, like how you're doing it or how you want them to do it? And number 3 is, are you doing it yourself? Do you have a schedule? Are you expecting them to do something different than what you're doing? So that's it for today, for this topic. It's something to think about. I hope you like this format, this new format of podcasting that I'm doing. I'm trying something completely different, of just talking off the cuff without any kind of editing or minimal editing, so that you understand and I'm not babbling and rambling on too much, because I tend to do that. As you can clearly see, this episode is very different from the last 30 episodes. So I'd love to know your comments and what you think of this episode, whether the format, the way that it's coming out, or even the topic. What are your tips? What are your tricks? And what do you do? So I leave that up to you to think about it and look from within and answer that question. Why is it so hard for my kid to do chores? So I leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you back here I'm hoping a lot sooner than the 2 weeks. So be patient with me and keep liking and sharing the episodes that move you, that get you thinking, and that you think that someone else might benefit from. Because what you share out into the world is truly helping someone else that needs to hear what I have to say and what I'm teaching right now. And it all starts from you. All right, so thank you so much for being here and have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.